Welcome to episode 254 of Friars on the Farm, and I am joined. Welcome home to Roy.
Hey, yeah, it's nice to be back home. I made a quick little trip out to Wisconsin. Well, not a quick trip. I was gone for a week. We tried to record two separate
Yeah,
times. Baby Wi-Fi connection at the hotel just wasn't going to let it happen. But we're here to talk to you guys about the amazing things Jackson Merrill's been doing. Padres have been playing pretty well. We got some MILB news about some players released, some players moving up, some players making a name for themselves in their first few weeks in pro
yeah,
ball. And then we got the affiliate rundown, as we usually do.
yeah. Which has a chock full of all kinds of we went through a lot of the system to get in during the trade deadline, and there is plenty to still be happy about, and plenty of promise going in the pipeline, not only on the mound but in the field as well. And I tell you, the kids. Just before I get started here, the ton of these kids that they sent to Lake Elsinore have just taken off, and we'll go over that for a little bit coming up. But there's like they're in the playoff run, and having these guys come up after all the moves that we're going to talk about here in a second, it's nice to see that the Storm continue to win and continue to have a pretty chocked full of talent roster.
Well, speaking of kids taking off and
Woo.
playoff runs, is there anything Jackson Merrill cannot do right now? My goodness, what a run the guy's been on. And it just coming from behind, game tying, taking the lead home runs late in games, making great plays on defense, smart base running. Even when he's not the one hitting the big home run, it still seems
Right.
like he's getting the single. He's on base to score that run that somebody else is knocking him in later. I mean, the guy's just having an incredible month.
It's funny. I was thinking about this, and this, I don't know if this, it's not Padre slander, or I don't know what you want to call this, but I think he's had a much more special or season than Fernando Tatis has. I really think since he's started. This debut season for Jackson, talking about the clutch, talking about being 20 years old in the major leagues, and playing less, like a third of the games that Tatis did in Double A, coming up and playing at the level that he's playing, and we're pretty far into the season now, and they have a book on him, and yet they still can't seem to get the book right, because he continues to just mash, and particularly not only just the home runs, but you're right, it's the productive outs, it's the infield hit, that gets, he's out at first, but he gets the guy over from second to third. Those productive outs are what is what's really impressive.
Right. And sorry, I'm trying to rebut your argument about Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm trying to dig up some stats here because Fernando is pretty electric coming up. But I think the
Yeah.
difference there is that everybody expected Tatis to do great things. Like nobody expected him to hit the ground running like he did, but still you knew when he was coming up that the guy was special.
Yeah.
Merrill, a lot of us knew that he was going to be really good, but there was always questions about is the pop going to play? Moving out to center field. Well, what are you doing moving a guy in positions like that? Is he even going to be competent in center field? And so I think with him, it's that he's exceeded everybody's expectations. And then on top of that, he's just performing at such an incredibly clutch level that is something that you can't quantify. I haven't yet to see a metric that
No.
collects clutch properly. But what really stands out to me, like today, he was asked about the whole rookie of the year thing. And he's like, whatever, I don't care about that. My family's right here. This is what matters.
Yeah.
And just the ultimate team player. Every time he's got the right answer, and it's infectious. I'd like to think that that groove that he has is infectious among the clubhouse right now.
Yeah, and I think it kind of sets the tone with just keep playing baseball, just have fun. That's the thing that we forget. We talk to these, you see the big league guys, your Manny Machados, your Xander Bogarts, and the professionals. They've been there before. They talk about being there before and doing it. Jackson comes up, he's like, I'm just playing baseball, dude. I'm just having fun. I'm just my family, so we're just having a blast. I think it really brings the game back down to its core, and that's just a kid's game, and have fun playing it. So many of those losses and so many of the wins started this week. I'm like, okay, if all right, they're gonna lose that one. Big deal. Holy cow, they came back and won it. Even on Sunday, I went like they were down by 5 runs, I think. I'm like, I need to get some chores done. I had to go get my tires rotated. I got to get my car washed. I had a bunch of stuff to do. So, I'm at the car place. I'm looking at my phone. Oh, look, they got a couple runs. Oh, look, Jackson Merrill just tied it up. What the?
Yesterday was the first game all week that I watched from the beginning. It seems like, traveling and everything, I'm picking it up late, which is the right time to
Yeah,
pick it up. So yesterday I flipped it on the first inning, and Dylan Cease isn't looking so sharp. A couple of runs are coming
right,
across, and I'm thinking, Why am I doing this? Why am I even watching the first 5, 6 innings of this game?
right.
Because
Didn't
like
you tweet that?
it's
You
like
tweeted that, right?
I did. I should be tuning in late. So I pulled up the stats of everybody, all the Padres players aged 21 or under since 2005. So Jackson Merrill has posted 3.4 WAR so far this year, according to Fangraphs, but that's through 115 games. Tatis in 2020 had a 3.3 WAR season in only 59 games, and then in 2019 he was a 3 WAR player in 84 games. So on a per game basis,
Right.
Tatis was a more productive player, and he was just so incredibly off the charts athletic. Like
Yeah.
the things that
And short was just insane.
Ellie De La Cruz is doing, where it's top of the scale bat speed, top of the scale arm speed, top of the scale sprint speed. That was what you had with Tatis. Merrill, none of those tools are top of the scale, but
Right.
it's all the intangibles. It's the incredibly stable approach at the plate. It's never taken a play off. It's always trying to get the extra bag and always trying to pick his guy up. It's a whole different kind of experience.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, it wasn't expected, and I still keep like now I'm starting to like really watch myself. Like Merrill's up. Okay, let's see what does he do. What does he do now? Like I start to expect it now, and that's when it's just like, dude, no, 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 no. Just like he might strike out here, and that'll be okay. But like, oh no, there's a double in the gap, or oh, there's he's getting a runner over. Like it never stops. And with this team, the run that they've been on, like I was saying, I kept expecting us to lose. Kind of, we're not going to win every game for the rest of the season, but and for the law of averages, like okay, we can afford to lose this game and not be going okay. Scoreboard watching, like okay, god damn, we lost a game, or we didn't pick up a game there. Like we were on a solid run, and we're still, it'd be okay to lose a series. It wouldn't be great, but I wouldn't be like okay, we're here we go, we're back to the old pod racing again. Um, which makes it much better for me as a fan because I can just go like, all right, I don't won't lose sleep or be pissed off. But I do one thing I did notice is this Sunday, we watch every Sunday morning at 9, we watch the plays of the week, and they had a couple walk offs, and then a couple like showcases from a player that was doing real well this week, and they got none of that this week. They had the one walk off homer. I think it was a game tying homer, earlier on the week. They must edit that thing at like on Thursday because they missed the whole 4 games, and Liddy she almost tweeted at MLB Network like, "What the hell are you guys doing? Like you missed an opportunity." Obviously, they're catching up with it today. I saw a lot of that stuff on X about him, talking to Sean Casey and those guys, and I think he did the morning show or whatever. So he's starting to get his play finally, on the major league, on the big league scale or no, national level. But they missed an opportunity this week to showcase what a fantastic week that kid had.
Well, we're over here on the West Coast, so most
Yeah,
of those guys are in bed by the time the Padres are even turning the fourth or fifth inning. So did you see the Ha-Sung Kim hit late in the game yesterday
yeah,
in the ninth inning?
yeah.
When it happened, what did you think?
I
Did you
thought
think it
since
was a
he
home
knocked
run?
the ball over, like it's like if the ball gets hit and it bounces like the Jose Canseco, if it bounces off your head and goes into the over the fence, that's a home run. If the ball is hits the fence and you knock it over, that should be a home run. Obviously, we get the rule now, but I mean, even then, like if that would have fell our way, it would have just been like that's stupid. Like I saw it, everyone thought it was a home run, and everyone's tweeting like, "I can't believe this stuff." Um, yeah, I mean, but obviously the rule is the rule.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something in the rule that could be written better or some kind of definition that's missing. Because you think about it, okay, if the ball hits the top of the fence and the player catches it, it's not an out because the fence is part of the field of play.
Yeah.
But if it hits the top of the fence and goes over, it's a home run. I but then you see the couple of other instances over the last couple of years. I think one was in Detroit and one was in, I want to say, Boston, where it hit the fence, hit a player, and went back. There was that one in Detroit where the ball went straight up in the air, hit the top of the fence again, then hit the player and went out. Because the explanations I was hearing, like Mike Winters got on with Sammy Levitt last night,
Yeah.
and it's something to do with the direction that the ball bounces. And
Yeah.
there's interpretation in there that I don't like rules that require that kind of interpretation. I don't like the balk rule. I don't like the check swing rule. I feel like things need to be a little bit better defined. Um, and so seeing not only that this play happened to go against the team that, it doesn't fit my narrative. I want Ha-Sung Kim to tie that game up so that the Padres can have another comeback win. Um, but then also knowing that there were other plays where that ruling went the other way, where
Yeah.
everything else seems so similar about the play. It's a little bit frustrating. So I
Yeah.
understand why people are a little bit salty about that, especially yesterday afternoon.
Was it? I saw the one that was Jose Ramirez, I think, hit a ball like that in the left field. And it looked like they did almost the exact same thing where it hit the fence, the player hit it, but it went over and it was a home run. But ironically enough, where he hit the ball, where that ball landed yesterday, the guard, the foam guard was facing towards the field. So that angle actually helped the ball stay up in, if it was regular, if it would have been like this instead of turned, I think that ball just hit the fence and went over. But since it was kind of turned towards the field, look at it again. That foam part of the top of the fence there is turned in towards the field. And that's physics right there. So if it's faced like that, it stops and it comes up instead of falling over and into the, yeah. We can be
I
splitting hairs here with
appreciate
that, but that's the first thing I noticed was like,
I and I saw that too, but I believe that if that thing was sitting on there right, it would have hit the front of that padding and it would have bounced back into play.
yeah, you,
But
you could be right.
regardless, I mean, they came so close to pulling off another insane win. How many come from behind wins can a team have in a week and a half? And it's been crazy. So they got the Pirates back in town. They just swept them. Let's hope they can keep the strong play against them and just keep the good vibes going.
Yeah,
they've got a good thing going. Everybody's talking about playing like family, playing like a team, and being selfless. And I mean, it's the middle of August, so they got
yeah,
another month and a half of this to get to the playoffs. And now, I mean, everything's in sight. Who knows? The Dodgers are right there. They've got to freaking figure out how to get the Diamondbacks to get off the Padres' backs. But and the sky's the limit right now for this team.
yeah. All right, but let's move on. Let's
All right. So we got some minor league transactions going on here. And so every year after the draft, there's the wave of they need to make room for all these kids that just got drafted. So unfortunately, there were a bunch of releases across the organization. So we wanted to highlight some of them. Left-handed pitcher Luke Westphal signed with the organization as a minor league free agent for the second time this year. Mitch Miller, Kobe Robinson, somebody
yeah,
that looked really talented a couple years ago, but he's been struggling with some shoulder injuries. Keegan Collette, 35th rounder in 2019. Aldo Lejia, 2022 signee out of Mexico. One of my personal favorites, Griffin Dorshing, big first baseman with absolute light tower power.
yeah,
Um, he turns 26 next week, and he had a 689 OPS in high A this year. And that's the reality of it. That if
yeah,
you're not mashing your way out of the low levels, at some point you age out. And I think that's kind of what that was, unfortunately, for him. And then finally, utility player Jared Dale. I guess he's more of a shortstop than anything, but the Aussie. And I always love a player from a different country.
yeah.
So we were pulling for Jared Dale to make it, and it just wasn't meant to be. So all those guys, their time with the Padres organization has come to an end. So thanks for the service, and hope they catch on somewhere. Heck, who knows? Maybe they might come back around again.
Yeah, and that's what happens every year. So every organization is doing the same thing. They're dropping the guys, and the podcasters from all the other organizations are lamenting these guys. I remember watching Jared Dale after we signed him at 17 years old, playing in the Australian Baseball League. Watching the game start at 9 o'clock here in the West Coast, and they're like middle of the day in Australia, and like, oh, that's our kid, that's our guy. Kobe Robinson, both those guys, we had Kobe Robinson on the podcast. Great guy. I would watch him in the dugout. Just a really good teammate. He had shoulder injury and he just couldn't get back to form and velocity that he had before. And like you said, I think Griffin Dorsey was an underslot draft pick. And we got him because he had that one, he hit home runs, but he's a little bit older even when we drafted him. And if he could have caught fire, maybe it could have moved, he could have moved up and stayed in the organization, but just it wasn't meant to be. And another one of those guys, like when I talked to him, you guys heard the interview, sweet dude, great down to earth guy. Called his boys donkeys. Like we had a couple of donkeys on that team. And I love the way that he looked like exactly like Brian Bosworth, for all you older listeners out there and watchers. You remember what Brian Bosworth looked like? He looks just like him.
I think he's actually bigger than Brian Bosworth, which is
Right.
crazy thinking how big of a sensation Bosworth was back then. This
Yeah.
hulking linebacker, defensive lineman. Now I skipped over the major league transactions. I want to
Yeah.
go back and hit on that real quick. So today, Joe Musgrove is making his first start back off the IL. Carl Edwards Jr. was DFA'd to make room for him. Carl Edwards Jr., his contract was selected 4 days ago. He pitched in one game, did not do very well in that one game. Jackson Wolf was designated for assignment to make room for Carl Edwards Jr. He was outrighted to El Paso, so Jackson stays in the organization. Hope he gets another chance. Austin Davis elected free agency, and then he signed back with the Padres. And then finally, the Padres selected the contract of Blake Bacher. I think
Yeah.
that was one of these clauses in a 1 year minor league deal where he has to be on the big league roster by a certain date, or he can elect free agency. So congratulations for Lake Bacher. He's one step away from getting that big league paycheck.
Absolutely. So then with all those releases, you have the system train moving. So you have players moving up. So the Padres officially activated their 27 draftees, undrafted free agents, leading to the 20 plus promotions coming across the system. Top relief prospects for Francis Pena, which we'll talk about later, went up to AAA. Bradley Rodriguez went from high A to double A. Brandon Valenzuela went from double A to AAA. We'll have a lot of those guys in the affiliate rundown. Rossman Verdugo moved up to high A. Jacob Campbell, along with Jacob Campbell, Harry Gustin, Ethan Long, Jose Luis Reyes, Will Varmett, and Eric Yost all made the jump from Lake Elsinore up to high A. Anthony Villar was promoted from high A to double A. Great to see that kid. He's very interesting. I thought he started in short the other day too. So he has short, second base, catch. I mean, can he play some center field? You might even saw some in the outfield. Also going up there to double A is Romeo Sanabria. We'll have a video of him hitting his first double A homer later on. Sam Whiting, Jackson Smelt, and Bradley Rodriguez. All those guys went up to double A. Kind of noticeable guys sticking around, Joshua Mears, who is 2 homers shy of the franchise record, stays in high A. And really this week, and we'll talk about it here in a few minutes in the affiliate rundown, he's made a lot more contact lately. He's hit for a little more average lately. I don't know if it's just that's what happens in baseball. Maybe they're working on something, but he has certainly kind of picked up the pace on not only just home runs, but also, hitting for average as well. So it's good to see that Josh Mears kind of still sticking with the organization, obviously, and then, maybe picking it up a little bit.
When you're as strong as he is, it doesn't take much to
Right.
put the ball out.
No.
So but it's easy for us to say, oh, if he can just focus on making contact, and then when he gets a hold of one, it's going to go. But how many players do you see where you say that same thing? We were talking about Franmil Reyes, same kind of thing. Like if he could just focus on hitting line drives, who knows? But I like again, it's easy for us to say.
Yeah.
So Anthony Villar, I pulled up his baseball reference here. He's played everywhere except the outfield. First base, second base, shortstop, catcher. He even pitched in 3 games this year.
Do we have
Okay.
those are the guys you root for. His bat is picked up a little bit and they're trying to find where he could fit. He's athletic enough to play the infield, but I mean, he caught most of the beginning of the season, he was behind the plate, if not DH.
Yeah.
Since then, they have moved him around and trying to find somewhere to kind of see where he could fit and if we could find some more value with the kid. Um, we'll see how it goes, but we'll have a little bit about him a little bit later on, also in the affiliate rundown.
All right, so Jerry Espinoza is one of my favorite Twitter follows.
Yep.
As you guys all know, he lives right there in the Phoenix area. He loves to go out to the back lots and take pictures of the kids, especially after the draft. He's posting tons of pictures of all the new draftees, and so it's always neat to follow him. But he put out some tweets, and I thought one thing he said was really interesting. He said, "I will fully admit, after the trade deadline, I was very much questioning the state of the Padres farm system. Just two bridge games. So the bridge is like it's like the Arizona Summer League, but it's an informal thing, but they're still playing games against the other teams.
Yeah.
With no he hasn't seen any drafted or undrafted free agent pitchers yet, but he says, I'm totally fine with the farm. Can't wait to see the pitching debut. AJ and the scouts are top notch. So he's talking about all these draftees and all these undrafted free agents that the Padres just brought in. And I mean, the pictures, they sure jump off the map. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about some of these guys like Elsinore here in a little bit that are already starting to make a name for themselves just in their first few weeks in pro ball.
It's funny because the bridge league, the bridge games it's a new term for me. This is the first, when I saw him say that, I knew exactly what he was talking about. It's after the draft. They got to figure out where these guys kind of go, where their skill level is and where they are. So they call them the bridge games from drafted. And then a bunch of those guys are out to affiliates, and who needs to maybe stay back. Maybe some of your high dollar, higher draft picks, you want to keep closer to your chest and kind of get a real full appreciation and starting with the a foundation in the complex. But right when he said bridge, I'm like, that's something new. They have what in the Dominican Academy leagues, they have, what do they call, what's those games called? God, JJ Cooper just posted it the other day. They're kind of like informal games that they kind of figure out where the guys are. But it's outside of the academy, outside of the organizations. I'll come back
Ah,
to you guys and try to find that, but there's a name for it, and it's like a not a it's like almost like a pickup game, but it's kind of to find out if there's any guys out there. So he tweeted
these
something
games that they're
about that.
playing right now, they're not. They may be keeping score, but it's very informal. I don't even know if they are
Right.
keeping score, but it's the kind of thing where the rules are kind of thrown out the window. If
Yeah.
there may be a rehabbing guy that's getting the first at bat. You may be starting an inning with a guy on base. You might have pitch limits on certain guys. You may have a pitcher that comes out in one inning and then comes back in the next inning. It's like it's purely for guys to get their reps in.
Yeah.
Have you seen pictures of Cobb Hightower yet?
Yes.
He looks to me, there's a lot of Trey Turner kind of similarity just in the angles in his face. I think there's a little bit of Fernando Tatis Jr. look in there too. It may be just because he's got a little bit of the
Well,
5 o'clock shadow beard going on. Uh, but I that stood out to me as soon as I saw that picture. I'm like Trey Turner and a little bit of Fernando Tatis Jr.
that's some good genes there. If he can
That
play like
is,
that, that'd be
yeah.
certainly be something to look forward to. He should be out to an affiliate. I would hope some of these higher, some of the higher round draft picks make it out to the affiliates. A lot of these guys in the in Elsinore now are the undrafted late round guys they're established. They're pretty old. They're in their 20s, 23. A couple of the guys are 23 years old. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But let's move on.
It seems like the trend lately has been that the college guys go out
Yeah,
quick and they
yeah,
hold the high school guys back a little bit. So
yeah.
I that's my guess is that we won't see Cobb Hightower and some of these other guys go out to a that they're going to keep them back in the complex so they can teach them, how to eat and train. And this is how we want you to, you need to get out of bed at this time. You need
Right.
to do your laundry on Thursdays, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Build that foundation. The college guys have it. The younger guys don't. And those high school kids are also the higher draft picks where there's a little more money invested. They have to, really make sure that they're ready to go out to an affiliate.
Right, and it's their first time being away from home for an
Yeah.
extended time, so,
Yeah.
that's something to that, and there's the human element of it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we're 12 days into August, but in the minor league news, Padres Leo Dallas DeVries was the player of the month for the California League this last July. Shortstop Leo Dallas DeVries batted 318, 442, 694, and led the league in runs with 26, homers with 8, and total bases in 59, and was second in slugging percentage at 694 with an OPS of 1.136. He was sixth in RBIs of 18, walked as many times as he struck out, 18. He recorded 8 multi-hit games and has separate hitting streaks of 9 and 7 games. He's only 17 years old. He was signed by he was signed this year. He was our J15 guy in 2024. So, after a rough couple months of this, of his first affiliate taste, having him win Player of the Month in July, really shows that he's starting to get his feet underneath him, that he will be, or he could be, what we expect of him, and that's to be an absolute superstar. This is at 17 years old, obviously playing with much older competition, and it's just good to see it to get him, get going.
Well, you got DeVries, who's the youngest, if not one of the youngest regular players in the California League, winning Player of the Month, and you got Jackson Merrill winning National League Player of the Week as
Yeah.
one of the youngest everyday position players in that league. So the kids are all right. And
Kids are
then
up.
also in the article, Lake Elsinore right-hander Miguel Mendez went 1-0 with a .5 ERA in 4 appearances. 2 of them were starts, as he allowed 1 earned run on 7 hits and 10 walks over 18 innings. Struck out 21 and held opponents to a 117 average. Mendez is 22, and he was signed in 2021 out of San Juan de la Magana. There, I'm the one stumbling over the words, Donovan. The Dominican Republic. And then one more thing here, MLB Pipeline, top 30 prospects with rising stock in the rankings. We haven't seen a whole lot of Padres getting mentions in these articles.
Yeah.
And with all of these guys getting traded away, it's a little bit harder, but even still, we're starting to see some love. So Humberto Cruz, right-handed pitcher. San Diego signed Cruz for $750,000 back in February, making him its second most notable international addition behind top 100 prospect Leo Dallas DeVries. As with the infielder, the Padres skipped the 17-year-old right-hander over the Dominican Summer League and gave him a couple brief looks in the Arizona Complex League. While most of his action has come behind closed doors, Cruz has shown a fastball that averages 94 to 95 now, significant for his age. Remember, he's only
Yeah.
17. And his slider, changeup, and solid control give him the foundation of a future major league arm. Now, I remember the J15 signing period opened up, and we heard about Humberto Cruz pretty quickly
Yeah.
afterwards, but his signing wasn't actually announced for quite a while. And the Padres wound up having to make a couple of minor trades for additional international free agent money.
Yeah.
And it turned out it was because they needed to scrape together their nickels to be able to pay Humberto Cruz his 750 grand.
Well, we really appreciate it for sticking around with us and waiting for that to happen. And that's what happened? Do you hear it? It's one of those byproducts of trade sometimes. We traded this guy and for international slot money. That money, it can't just be money. Oh, that's borrowed money and put it. It has to be specific money for the international signing. So you hear those in trades. It's kind of a like the second sentence of a trade that you don't really think of. You really want to focus on the player, but that couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there in these trades, and you got enough to sign a kid like this. And what we've seen on X about him pitching in a little bit in the ACL, lots to like. But once again, 17 years old, throwing 94, 95, you want to really limit that guy and really build up his strength. So I'm not surprised that we haven't seen him in an affiliate. I doubt we do the rest of the season. A guy that throws that hard, that young, you want to make sure that there's an injury risk there, and you bring him out too soon into an affiliate without being properly built up and strengthened, could delay his career.
Well, plus he's 17 years old, first time playing in pro ball, maybe the first time away from home for a period of time. I know what kind of a knucklehead I was when I was 17, so they got to keep an eye on these guys and make sure they aren't knuckleheads like I was. And I like to follow the money, and so I have to wonder if the Padres they wound up losing some international prospect bonus pool because of going over the luxury tax, the CBT
Yeah.
threshold. And so I wonder if that had something to do with it, that they knew that they were going to commit this much to DeVries. They thought they had this much that they could give to Cruz, and then however much that they already had committed to everybody else. And once that number came through, because remember, they're making these commitments 2, 3 years prior usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder if they thought that that money was going to be there, and then there was a little less on the table when the period opened up.
When you play like that, when you're that good, that young, you have the leverage. And
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's why the brother gets his guys though. And that's one thing about all the draft. They signed everyone but the one guy in the draft.
Yeah, everybody except for the 20th rounder. And it sounds like that 20th round selection was kind of a fallback in case one of the high school picks that they picked in like the fourth, fifth round, if
Right.
one of those didn't work out, then they would have had the money to sign the 20th rounder. But no, yeah, they signed all 20 guys. The bonuses all came out. They came within, I think it was $20,000 of spending their entire pool, which is, I mean, that's crazy. Most teams don't come that close to scraping the
Yeah,
bottom of the barrel. But yeah, kudos to Preller and the scouts for going out and finding all these guys and bringing a lot of exciting players back into the organization. Now that they traded everybody away, now they're restocking those shelves already.
absolutely. All right. So, hey, let's take a break here real quick and we'll come back with affiliate rundown.
If he could limit it to just that one run. Oh, what an athlete! Isaiah Lowe, sign retired.
Okay, let's get to the affiliate rundown. But before we do, Al Scott, friend of the friend, but just someone on X that we like a lot. He tweets a lot of information. Just tweeted this about all the new draftees in Lake Elsinore. So Kai Roberts, center field, he's hitting 391. He has 8 runs, 3 RBIs, 4 stolen bases with a 916 OPS. Jack Casello, the USD product, has been a beast this week. I think he's hitting 3 home runs. He's hitting 391, 7 runs, 11 RBIs, 2 stolen bases with a 1.249 OPS. And that's just 1 week. But a couple of those home runs, I'm pretty sure he either tied up the game or it was a game, a tie-breaking home run. Like he was just hitting tanks.
That's some Barry Bonds kind of numbers right there.
Dude, he did like 2 days in a row too this last week. Brandon Butterworth, Montaguilla, Jerry Espinoza tweeted that the guys, that all the guys call him Montaguilla, which is butter in Spanish.
It's margarine, but yeah.
381, 3 stolen. Sorry, 381, 3 doubles, 5 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. Brandon Dufree, catcher. 230. He's hitting 235. He's got an HR, 4 RBIs with 829 OPS. Earlier this week, I had tweeted a play. God, who was it? I can't remember who it was that threw the ball in. It might have been Butterworth that threw the ball in to the catcher. And it was Dufree who made the tag, but it was a heads up play. It was like a bunt. He ran up, threw it to home, they tagged the guy out and saved a run.
Apparently his nickname is Durf. It's Durfee.
Oh, Durfee? Okay, Durfee.
Yeah, and so his friend retweeted what he was doing. He says, Durfee _ Brendan doing Durf things.
Dude.
He says hashtag bro chose, and then he tagged UCSB baseball.
Dude, we're gonna have to call him. I don't have to ask where did Durf come. I mean, obviously Durfee, but like,
I love it. I love it. And that's one of the fun things this time of year when you got guys doing their first thing. You've got family members, you've got friends that are excited about seeing what their guys doing, and it's great. It's one of the beautiful things about baseball. All right, so let's roll into the affiliate rundown here. I'll start off in Lake Elsinore, painting the corners. On Tuesday, lefty Luis Gutierrez made the start for the Storm, earned his 2nd win of the season. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, allowing a run on 3 hits. He walked 3, struck out 6 batters. The 21-year-old from Venezuela has struggled with consistency in his first voyage into full season ball. And then Friday, for the first time this season, Ian Koenig completed 6 innings, allowing just 1 run on 2 hits and 2 walks against 4 strikeouts to earn his first win of the year. The young righty's flashed good stuff, but struggles to get results as he returns from Tommy John surgery. Long blonde hair. That's always a striking look out on the mound. And then on Saturday, Miguel Mendez. Miguel Mendez has been doing pretty well lately. Pitched
Yeah.
well on a day the offense exploded early. He pitched 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 2 home runs, limiting the damage. And then Chinese native Zach Kin made his first appearance for the Storm. Picked up the save in a very strong, solid inning and a third, getting the last batter to strike out. The lefty got started late this year because of a minor arm injury, but allowed just 1 run over 11 innings once he got underway in the ACL. The 19-year-old posted a strong 14-3 strikeout to walk ratio in his second pass at the Complex League. So you don't scout the Complex League
That line.
box scores, but strikeout to walk ratio, I feel like that plays just about anywhere. The evaluation of the strike zone changes as you move from level to level and from umpire to umpire, but still, if you're striking guys out and you're not giving up a lot of walks, that's going to move you up.
Absolutely. So let's quickly move on to the Screws. Tuesday saw a couple of affiliate debuts. Center fielder Kai Roberts made his professional debut and reached base 3 times. He singled twice and drew a walk and scored a run. Roberts was drafted in the 7th round at last month's draft out of the University of Utah. Utah. Do you know the last? I got to find the mascots for these teams. Then the second, what's that?
They're the Utes.
Is it the Utes? I wanted to say the Utes. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Did you say
Fred Gwynn? What is a Ute?
Ute.
I'm sorry, the two youths. Love that movie.
Old reference, probably lost on some very young listeners, but I'm sure we have parents here listening. Moving on, Brandon Butterworth also made his professional debut, and he delivered an RBI double to go with a stolen base. Butterworth was a Padres 12th round selection out of North Carolina State, where he started all 61 games at shortstop. Now that's okay. I can do that. Wednesday. Leo Dallas DeVries led off the game with a 431-foot blast to right for his 10th homer of the season. That's a long home run for any player of any age, and DeVries is doing it as the youngest player in full season ball. It's his 9th home run in his last 23 games. The 17-year-old DeVries has reached double digits for home runs and stolen bases in 66 games. Saturday was an offensive buffet, right? You're just shaking your head. It's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane what he's done all of a sudden. It's like the first 3 months of the year, he was kind of struggling and doing okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, like July clicks over and he just found a whole other gear.
Yeah. So Saturday was an offensive buffet with several players getting multiple hits. Kai Roberts, 23, a 7th round pick out of the University of the Utes, is off to a blazing start with 9 hits in his first 20 plate appearances, including 4 Saturday night. This is a 6'5" right-handed hitter, also swiped 4 bags and 4 attempts.
Left-handed hitter.
Left-handed hitter. Thank you. I don't got my glasses on. And then Jack Costello, 23, a 10th round selection out of the University of San Diego. Go Toreros. I work for UCSD, but go Toreros. We're good.
Hey, we support all the San Diego Athletics here.
We do absolutely love that kid. He's off to an even better start with a 1.318 OPS in his first 4 games. These are just first 4 games, but this is one of the things about having the college kids come out. They're used to seeing the velocity. They're used to seeing A-ball is essentially a really good college level of D1 level of baseball. With some lesser talent mixed in with walks and just with guys that are coming up. But that's kind of the level of baseball that you get in A-ball. He's hit 3 homers this week. Brandon Carpathios went 2 for 5 with a double and HR, hit a 6th HR. I posted that on X. And then Leo Dallas went 3 for 4 with 2 base on balls as well.
Yeah, so you pointed out that Kai Roberts is 6'5". The Padres drafted some big dudes this year.
Yeah.
Cale Fountain is 6'5". Darian McDowell is 6'4". Zach Evans is a shortstop at 6'4". Brendan Durfee, catcher, 6'4". Victor Figueroa is 6'5", and then Alex McCoy was an undrafted free agent, and he's 6'6". So a bunch of size in this year's draft. I feel like in the past, he's Preller's been looking more for like peak athleticism
Right.
where over time it's kind of evolved where he's looking for more guys that are just like baseball players and baseball, like they have the tools, they have the skills already, and it's you're building on that versus somebody with the top grade speed and the crazy fast hands. But can we get the guy to make contact? But I mean, size, you can't coach size. You can't teach somebody to be 6'5" and have those kinds of, the kinds of attributes that comes with that.
Yeah, but I think sometimes with those guys that are 6'4", 6'5", they're very much pigeonholed to a position or two. Like they can't move around too much. Your 6'2", 6'3" guys, they're probably a little more, like you said, a little more athletic. But Preller knows what he's doing. These guys are getting into the system, and if they can hit, they'll find somewhere to put them. I love that we have a second Kai. Like every time I saw Kai, I just couldn't help but go back to Kai Murphy. I'm going, no, it's Kai
Right.
Roberts, a new guy, a new Kai.
We need to get them both on the same team.
Dude, right? All right. You want to start with Fort Wayne?
So let's take it out to Fort Wayne. All right. So painting the corners, friend of the podcast, Braden Nett, last Wednesday started on the hill for the Caps, going the first 5 innings. Right-hander struck out 3 as he scattered 2 singles and 4 walks. The only run he conceded came in the 5th inning. Following Nett, Fernando Sanchez pitched an inning and 2/3 of scoreless relief, and Dwayne Matos recorded a 7-out save. Nice, clean game for the Tin Caps.
Yeah. I love Fernando Sanchez. He has the glasses.
I love it. The Gogs. Yeah. Fear the Gogs.
Yeah. Well, who is now playing independent ball?
Yeah, Danny Dens.
Yes.
Yeah, I try to keep tabs on all of our old friends that are still trying to make their way back out of independent ball.
Yeah, it's funny. I still follow him on Twitter. He had for some reason a tweet that the team that he played on tweeted out, so it came into my feed, said, "Hey, we love Fear the Gogs." # He liked it. So that's what we like to do, even if they're in the system. Like earlier this week, I think Robbie Stillings had 2 outstanding outings since he's been traded. It hurts a little bit, but you want to see those guys succeed. You want to see the people that we know, that we've talked to, that we followed. Just because they leave the organization doesn't mean we want them to fail or do bad or get released. We want these guys to succeed because we want all these guys to succeed. And that's kind of the beauty of having a minor league podcast is it's all about development. It's all about new guys. It's all about just getting your feet in the door. It's all about us telling their story. And that's a beautiful thing I love about doing this podcast. And then if they stick with us and they make an impact like, half of the damage duo in Jackson Merrill, the other half of that damage duo is doing damage in Washington. We celebrate those guys and we root for them.
We do.
Wow.
All right. Getting back to the rundown here. On Thursday, A debut bonanza. In his first career high A start, Eric Yost allowed 1 run through 5 innings of work. It seems like a lot of times when somebody moves up, their first appearance is really solid.
Yeah.
The recent single A Elsinore call-up only allowed 4 hits and 1 walk while striking out 4. In the bottom of the 6th, Jose Reyes made his high A debut in relief. Reyes pitched 3 innings and allowed only 1 run. The righty struck out 2 without walking a batter. I wonder if the manager gets those guys together, like, okay, all you new guys get in the office right here. Okay, you're going to go first. You're going to go second. You're going to go third. You're going to close the game out. That's how it's going to go today. We're going to just get all the new guys in the game today.
Yeah, well, I think what happens is, and we talked about this with Kobe, like he knew he was pitching. I think I talked to him like on a Wednesday. He's like, yeah, I'm pitching Sunday. So like they get those defined days. And the new guys, you move up, you slot them in, you want to get them on the mound, you want to get them playing. So I think that's how it happens. I watched a little bit of that. Jose Reyes struggled a little bit with command. He didn't throw a lot of strikes, but he did limit the damage. And I also watched the Eric Yost start, and God, kid is just picked up where he left off in Elsinore and is doing really well.
All right, so moving on Friday, Isaiah Lowe, speaking of guys moving up, pitched 5 innings without allowing an earned run and struck out 4. In another high A debut, Harry Gustin pitched 2 scoreless innings out of the pen without allowing a base runner in the 6th and the 7th. I have a feeling Harry Gustin's going to wind up moving into that,
Yeah.
And Will Castro closed it out with 4 outs, earning his 9th save of the season, 3rd most in the league. It was the Tin Caps' 4th win in a row. And now here on Sunday, I know you watched a whole bunch of this game. Jagger Haynes, number 12 Padres prospect, working on only 4 days rest for the first time this season, tossed 4 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts. He needed 85 pitches to get there. The 21-year-old, who hoped to get to 100 innings pitched this year after managing just 25 and a third last season, is up to 90 frames. After a brutal start to the year, he's posted a 2.94 ERA since May. That's one of the things we talk about, is that we want to see improvement as the season goes by, that
Yeah.
each month things are getting better, because you can't expect these guys to just kick ass from the start. If they do, they're going to get moved up. But oftentimes it takes guys a month or two to get going. The lefty, who's the last remaining member of the club's abbreviated 2020 draft class, has struck out 67 against 29 walks in his previous 57 and 2/3 innings of work. So 90 innings pitched so far. That's a couple games away from that 100 threshold. And I think he's going to just hit that and keep going.
Yeah, but you're starting to see a little bit, and I watched a lot of that. You're starting to see a little bit of the fatigue with the amount of pitches. There's got to be some kind of fatigue in the arm, in the delivery. It's a long season, and this is twice as three times as much as the amount of pitches, or sorry, of innings that he pitched last year. But the big thing is as many pitches he throws, he limits the damage. And that's the thing. Like, you can throw as many balls, but if you're getting outs or getting guys to roll over pitches, you're still doing your job. And, protecting from injury, they know what they're doing in the organization. So they feel he can work that long. And what was a month ago, we were saying, all right, so he's reached his limit. Let's see what they do from here. It seems like they're just going to keep having him start. And, he right now is really our, I want to say it for the lack of a better term, our Robbie Snelling in the making. And the great thing about him is the beginning of the season was a nightmare. Like, he would not get out of the first or second inning and just couldn't find it. And all of a sudden something clicked and it started hitting and he started pitching, and he's done a fantastic job. I cannot wait to talk to Jagger in the offseason, because it's going to be one of those seasons where, like, hey, what the hell happened? And let's talk about your rehabbing in the season before. Really good to see him. He's a really good kid. I ran into him back in February when I was in fantasy camp. You see this tall athletic kid with this chubby old dude that was wearing a beard back then. And his dad, Jerry's a great guy too, as well. All right, so let me take on the Screws. It's been a good week for Ethan Salas. Tuesday, he hit a game-winning homer, and here's that clip right here.
Here's the ball driven towards deep right. Morel is back towards the wall, looking up, and this ball is going to leave the yard. It's a home run for Ethan Salas, and the worst fear struck, no question. The Tin Caps got their chance, and one of their top prospects for the Padres did not miss it. Third homer of the year for Salas, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
Wednesday, he had a double. Thursday, he slugged his 17th double of the season while adding a walk and 2 hits. Friday, he hit his second homer of the week. The kid just had an absolute beast of a week, and it has been a long time coming for him. He has really turned it on this past couple weeks, where he's starting to hit consistently, starting to hit with a little more power. The walks were always there throughout the season, but hitting 210, 220, 190 at one point isn't what we were expecting out of the kid after coming up through Elsinore. Once again, being super young at 17 years old and doing so well. But he's a catcher. There's a lot more to do than just hit and play the field. Like, he has a lot more to worry about being a catcher than it is, just playing and hitting. So that bat might be lagging a little bit. It's starting to come back. He's still our top third prospect. He's a number one prospect, I think, still. But it's good to see him finally kind of put it together at the plate.
It is. Yeah. Over the last week, he's got a 972 OPS. It's just, there are people that probably expected him to do that all season.
Yeah.
But the kid's got a lot of other stuff on his plate. He's a catcher. So, catching bullpens in between starts, coming up with game plans, working with your pitcher.
Yeah.
There's a lot to doing his job. It's not just like Vries, where he can just roll up, take some grounders, take some BP, and he's good to go. He's got a lot more work to do.
Absolutely. Wearing the tools of ignorance does not help any of that.
For sure.
but the glove is top notch. Okay, Thursday, Josh Ramirez went 3 for 5. His second 3-hit game in a week, multiple hits in 4 of the last 6 games. He's had 4 homers over the last 9 games, 6 over his last 18. That's most in the Midwest League since July 13th. Over parts of 3 seasons, he's hit 32 homers as a tin cap. Second most in franchise history behind only Jacob Patterson, who hit 34 in 95 through 97. Had no idea who that guy was. His most recent homer Sunday to center field traveled 390 feet with an exit velocity of 118. I think I posted that on X as well. For context, this year in Major League Baseball, only 3 players have harder hits: Shohei Ohtani, Giancarlo Stanton, and O'Neill Cruz.
Yeah, 390 feet is not a tape measure blast, but 118 miles an hour. That means it was just an absolute line drive.
Right. That can kill someone. You try to catch that, it's going to break your hand.
Oh yeah, look out on the berm. You better keep your head on a swivel when he's stepping into the box.
To definitely to see some of these improvements in the contact rate with him is really promising. So I would say keep him, obviously keep him in high A to continue that kind of trend, build some confidence, kind of continue working on what he's working on, and then we'll see where we're at in spring training next year. But he struggled this year, and they tried to make him pitch earlier back in the complex. That took one day, and maybe that shouldn't be it. Then bringing him back out to the to high A, where he struggled the first good month after he got up. To see him turn it around once again is really nice to see.
Yeah, we never know the struggles that somebody's going through.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I don't know anything about Josh Ramirez's story, but it always makes you wonder when somebody's struggling on the field. If there's stuff that they're going through off the field as well. I mean, life isn't easy for any of us. But I got a picture when they put him on the mound. He's got a cannon arm, so you get up there and you can chuck 96, 98 easy. That interests people. But I would imagine that after doing a week of arm work and bullpens and everything, he's looking over at that cage and like, this ain't me. I need to get a bat in my hands again.
Yeah. All right. So
All right.
Friday, I watched
Wyatt
this
Hoffman. Tell us what Wyatt did.
This was a an amazing catch. Wyatt Hoffman made an unbelievable play at second base to throw the runner out. Okay, so listen to the South Bend Cubs announcer and watch it on YouTube right here.
One out, base is empty. Left on right matchup. Here's the wind and the next offering. And Ed smacks one right back up the middle. Diving play. It's gloved by Hoffman. Gets to his feet. Throws to first and he gets the out. Oh, maybe the play of the year.
It's an incredible play. That is an absolute stellar, incredible play. And once again, we're watching game of, plays of the week, and they have a little minor league segment. And that game was, it was Friday. So they must be editing that stuff on Thursday, not picking up any Friday night games here on the West Coast. An absolute incredible play. And even the South Bend Cubs announcer were like, play of the year, absolute play of the year. All right, so getting to battering around, the Tin Cats to overcome.
I've seen Wyatt. At least one time I've seen Wyatt with the Tin Cap Player of the Day award.
I love that they do that. The Tin Cap hat is sweet. The saucepan, right? All right,
so batting around here, the Tin Caps have overcome a deficit in 23 of their 44 wins, including overcoming a 5-run deficit to win 3 different times. And then after an 0 for 29 stretch across his last 15 games, and we don't have the name for that guy.
Yep. That's all cut and paste for me. I think it's
edit that out.
That's Llewellyn Cedeno.
Okay, so after an 0 for 29 stretch across his last 15 games since July 29th, Llewellyn Cedeno has an 818 OPS with 2 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, and 11 RBIs. He's one of these guys that coming into the season was drawing some attention. I think, did he play in the Arizona Fall League last year? But he hasn't done a whole lot this year. But he's one of those guys you look at, like he's got all the tools, crazy athlete, shortstop, plays all over the infield. If he could put it together, you never know.
Absolutely. And he does not lack swagger. Like you watch that kid come up to the plate, you see him in the field, like he's got the swag. So like if the play can catch up with the swag, I think we got something there. Definitely.
All right, so take us to San Antonio.
All right, bound to San Antonio, painting the corners. Thursday, Henry Baez turned in his second consecutive quality start. The right-hander allowed 1 run on 4 hits across 6 innings of work. Baez walked 1 while striking out 4 batters. Another
Henry Baez
hard-throwing guy.
he does not
Yeah.
turn in a bad appearance. He's been consistently good.
No, and I really think it's the velocity. He throws really hard, 96, 98. He has a great breaking ball, and it's good to see him. And he's young too. I think he's 21.
Yeah, he's 21.
Making
Turns
the
22
second
in
start.
October.
Yeah, making a second start in Double-A. Friday, Ryan Bergert turned in one of his most strongest starts of the season. The right-hander kept the Cardinals off the scoreboard in 4 1/3 innings of work. He allowed 2 hits and 3 walks while striking out 3 batters. Then Sunday, Victor Lizarraga worked around traffic in the first 3 innings to keep Springfield off the board. Still, he gave up 3 runs in the 4th inning, including a loud 2-run home run. The 20-year-old righty did strike out 5 against one of the toughest teams in minor league baseball to punch out, bouncing back a bit from a rough start to open the series. Rasley Rodriguez came back to finish the game after throwing an inning in Saturday night's game. The 20-year-old is the only reliever who has worked on back-to-back nights in the system all year. He's now done it successfully 3 times. So that tells you a lot what they see in that kid, and to kind of build him up to, I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make it up to AAA by this year. He another very hard throwing pitcher, super young for Double-A. Also, to kind of go back to Victor Lizarraga, once again, 20 years old. He's had some full season. He hasn't missed a beat in the seasons, but at 20 years old, you're starting to see, some of the wear and tear, some of the fatigue you get in some of these younger players as we get later into the season, where things can kind of get out of whack a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to pull up Bradley Rodriguez's numbers here. But he's 20, but he's in Double-A. And if somebody's mowing guys down in Double-A, and now that he's proven that he can go back-to-back nights and come back strong the second night, like, there aren't a whole lot of boxes left to check before somebody gets the call.
Right.
And I now that the Padres have fortified the bullpen, it's a little bit harder to crack that big league roster. But if they need somebody and he's back there mowing people down, why not give the guy a shot?
Yeah, absolutely. And to have that depth, particularly with the bullpen, because Tanner Scott's a 1 year, he's a rental. The Sandridge is also up in AAA. Like, we have some options there. Like Bacher, obviously, they just put on the 40-man. So we do have some options in the bullpen going into next season if everyone stays healthy.
Right. All right. So moving on the screws. On Wednesday, Romeo Sanabria made his Double-A debut, collecting a hit and a walk and scoring a run. He's batting .293, .402, .455 in 3 stops this season. But wait, there's more. On Friday, he hit his first Double-A homer, a no-doubter in the top of the 4th. And here's that clip.
Rajic out of the windup and the 2-2 pitch from the right-hander. Swung on, hit high and deep to right field. Mendlinger going back. Mendlinger to the track. Mendlinger to the wall. He's going to watch. That ball is gone. Romeo Sanabria. He's appeared at least so far here in Double-A. He looks like he belongs. His first home run at the Double-A level this year. His 11th between.
Tank.
All right. So then in between those 2 games on Thursday, another newcomer, Anthony Villar, had a productive night at the plate in his second career Double-A game. Villar went 1 for 2 at the plate while scoring once, stealing a base, and drawing 2 walks.
Absolutely. Love that kid.
All right. So then finally, in batting around here, Connor Hollis has been one of the hottest hitters of late. Don't talk about Connor Hollis a whole lot, but maybe we should be.
Yeah.
After going 2 for 5 on Wednesday, he's hit safely in each of his last 5 games. During this stretch, he's batting .350. That's 7 for 20. Hollis also improved his career batting average to .343 against the Cardinals. Cardinal killer.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on. It's getting late in my day. My mouth's all dry. Let's get you to El Paso. Pain in the quarter. Tuesday, Omar Cruz allowed 1 run in 5 2/3 innings of relief, which was the longest relief period appearance by an El Paso pitcher this season. Cruz took over for Johnny Brito, who struggled. Brito recorded just 1 out while allowing a booming double and 3 walks before being pulled. The 26-year-old righty struggled to throw strikes. Just 11 of his 26 pitches he threw across the strike zone. Since then, he has been moved up. He came up, pitched two two solid innings to kind of bridge that game for us to get the lead later on, and then was quickly sent back down and optioned.
With Omar Cruz, I can't help but think of the 16-year-old kid that was there at what do they call it? Social Summit. They brought him out to face questions and answers, and his English was pretty good for a 16-year-old kid from Mexico. But baby face. And then I saw a picture of him today that the Chihuahuas tweeted out, and looks like a completely different dude.
He's a man now.
He's grown up. He's all grown up.
So Wednesday was the debut of a couple call-ups. Brandon Valenzuela started behind the plate. While he went 0 for 3 with a walk, he successfully threw out a would-be base stealer. The other was reliever Francis Pena. Pena reached 98 multiple times with a sinker in a scoreless inning of work. The 23-year-old has posted a 1.49 ERA with a .93 whip across 3 levels this year. His second pitching in the U.S. Given the Padres' super pen, it would be tough for him to get the call this year, but he will be a name to watch in spring training next year. Several of these guys going to have really good springs. They could definitely cut the team, break spring training with the team. Nabil Cruz made the start and struck out a season-high 7 batters. The former big league pitcher has pitched at least 5 innings and 3 straight outings, allowing 2 runs each time out. Now, I watched this outing again. It's the same thing with him and Gabe Moser. They don't throw hard. They just throw strikes, and then when they were supposed to weave, they whap. When they zig, they zag. And these AAA hitters who you see, they will punish 98 down the middle. But if you throw 88 on the corner, they can't hit it or they roll over it.
I like to see that Cruzmat's being used as a starter. I can't imagine that he's going to get an opportunity to crack the big league roster this year. But I'm happy that he's back with the Padres. I would love to see his big smile back at Petco Park. But everybody wants to be a starter, and so if he's reestablishing himself as a starter and somehow makes that his future, then good for him.
Absolutely. And then, during spring training, they always had the question of the day. He was one of those guys that they always had him on the question of the day. Or he'd Paul Kyan, get back here and have his guys answer the question. And that's some of the fun stuff that he did in spring training that we love to see. All right. So moving on, Thursday, Jared Kohler pitched 5 2/3 shutout innings and has allowed only 2 runs in his last 11 2/3 innings. Tom Gosgrove allowed only 1 base runner in 1.1 innings, and Logan Gillespie pitched 2 hitless innings to close the game. Nice pitching, and to see this in the PCL this late in the season is really good to some of these guys, particularly Cosgrove and Jared Kohler, who's a dark horse candidate for a rotation spot next season.
Yeah, we got to get Cosgrove back to the big leagues, man. I want to see him back on that mound at Petco again.
Absolutely, with that 17-inch, a 2-foot break on his sweeper.
Yeah, let's get him back on Pitching Ninja.
All right, so once again, Saturday, Gabe Moser pitched well, 5 1/3 innings. He had 6 hits, 3 runs, 6 Ks, and a base on balls. But the bullpen was the story of the night, allowing just 1 hit and striking out 10 over the game's last 4 2/3 innings. Austin Davis recently moved from the 40-man roster and sent back to AAA, delivered the day's most impressive outing, striking out all 5 batters he faced. And then Alec Jacob closed out the victory for his first save since opening night in March 29. Jacob got the save.
Well, he was up for a little bit. I was happy to see him back up with the big league club, after getting shut down last year with some forearm elbow issues. So he was able to avoid the knife and come back strong. So I pulled up Tom's numbers here. Since going on, so he went on the injured list, and then he went to Lake Elsinore, pitched a couple of games, and then he got optioned to El Paso. So since then, he's pitched in 9 games, 9 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 3 runs total, so 1 unearned run in that time. Against him, batters are hitting 229 with a 290 OPS, or I'm sorry, a 290 on base percentage, a 718 OPS. I discount the slugging because it's PCL. So singles turn into doubles turn into home runs real quick out there. But holding guys to a 229 batting average and a 290 on base is pretty darn good.
All right, so
wrapping it up here.
Yeah, well, he could be one of those everyone else throws hard in the pen, and you bring in a guy that throws the 70-mile-an-hour sweeper that breaks 2 feet. Is a nice change of pace, and certainly could really screw up the timing of some of these major league hitters. So let's get him up to the majors soon.
Right. I mean, the key for him is fastball command, but it's kind of the same with Matt Waldron. And Matt, I mean, he doesn't have an overpowering fastball. It doesn't have crazy ride on it. He's throwing what, 92, 93. But
Yeah.
when he's locating his fastball, then everything else plays. And so that's, Waldron throws the knuckler, Cosgrove throws that sweeper. So if he can ride that sweeper 60% of the time, as long as he's still dotting the fastball where he needs to, they're not going to hit it. All right, so we don't have a whole lot of offense this week for On the Screws, but on Thursday, shortstop Mason McCoy went 2 for 3 with 2 doubles, an RBI, and a sacrifice bunt. He now has a 9-game hitting streak and has 9 RBIs in his last 9 games. Maybe he should change his number to number 9. And then on Friday, Tirso Ornelas went 1 for 4 with a double, playing first base for the first time in his life. I was surprised to hear that. First time in his life. That you'd figure at some point they'd send him over to first. But never know. You get a look at the guy and see if he can add that arrow to his quiver. That just makes him more valuable to the big league club. And then on Saturday, Brandon Lockridge, newcomer to the organization. He came in the Enyel de los Santos trade. He went 1 for 4 with his first home run of the season for El Paso. Wait, that was first home run of the season?
First home run of the season, dude. And
really, because he's been hit for good average. Okay.
And it is it's a loud booming homer. And here's the clip right there.
Righty sets, and here's the 1-1. Driven out towards left. Hummel is back, and he will turn, and this one is into the seats and gone. A 2-run homer by Brandon Lockridge. His first extra base hit as a member of the Padres organization, and that ties it up at 3. And Gusto's scoreless inning streak comes.
Dude, that's crack. Like when he hit that, I'm like, oh God, that's gone.
Yeah, he's a speed first guy, but I guess I just assume that at some point you're going to run into one. I'm surprised to hear that that's his first home run at all in AAA this year.
Well, Wilkes-Barre is not, I don't think that's the International League. There's not a lot of pitchers parks, our hitters park back there. I think the air's a little more heavier back east than it is here on the West Coast. But that's it, folks. That's us. That's what we got this week. We really appreciate you guys.
I pulled up his numbers here real quick. 2023, he only hit 3 home runs in 325 plate appearances. But in 2022, he hit 14. 2021, he hit 13. So there's power in there somewhere. It's just been missing the last couple of years. But he's batting 280 with a 392 on base on the season. And most of that time being in the International League, where they are more pitcher heavy kind of a league versus the Pacific Coast League.
Yeah, definitely. Legs first though. He's got that sugar, the Ezekar leg speed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he can go get it for sure.
All right. So hey, next week I definitely plan on having a lot more of those draftees. Maybe some video the next coming week. Next Saturday, I plan on so look forward to that in the following week. But until then, you can find me on Twitter at SD Donavan.
I'm at Zippy_TMS.
Let's go Padres.
Let's go Padres.